everybody, and welcome to the Center for Spiritual Living here in San Clemente. We're so glad you're here with us here in the sanctuary and out there on Video Land. We're so glad that you are here to celebrate this beautiful service with us this morning. And we'd like you to join us on our very first sing-along song, a Daniel Nahmod tune called God You Are. So please arise, join our fabulous song leaders up here, and here we go.
Center. It's Sunday, our favorite day of the week, and you know why, don't you? Because we get to be together, we get to sing together, we get to praise together, and we get to pray together. And it doesn't really get much better than that, does it? If you're here for the very first time, we want you to know that we come in community. We share an intention. We create spaces for transformation. And we do so that we can remember who we truly are. So welcome. We're going to start off this morning with lighting the flames of faith. We promote this ceremony. We perform this ceremony to promote the universal consciousness of life, which acknowledges that all peoples, all faiths, all sentient beings come from one great universal presence, which we call Spirit. Fundamental to this truth is the unifying nature of all religious thought and experience, which we honor here today. We light the candle for the Tao, honoring the universal path of harmony and equilibrium, the natural way. We light the candle for the shamanic traditions, honoring the beliefs and practices of all indigenous peoples, the way of primal spirituality. We light the candle for Hinduism, honoring the path of knowledge, action, and devotion. We light the candle for Judaism, honoring the ethical path of living by sacred law. We light the candle for all forms of Buddhism, honoring the Four Noble Truths and the path of compassion. We light the candle for all forms of Christianity, honoring the Christ consciousness as the path of love. We light the candle for all forms of Islam, honoring the path of compliance with the will of God as the highest calling. We light the candle for the universalistic religion of Baha'i, honoring the path of unity and peace. We light the candle for all forms of new thought, honoring the metaphysical path of mental healing through the practice of universal spiritual principles. And as Reverend Karen Allen lights the last candle, let it represent the path that brought you here this morning.
And please join me in prayer, knowing together that in this very sacred moment of now, in the sacred space of here, there is that presence, that one life, that one love, that one energy that brings forth everything into existence. And it is pure love. And I know that by means of this time together, each one here experiences that love, experiences that connection, experiences that pure, unadulterated spirit energy, that spirit consciousness for which we all came here to share together. I know that each one here is divinely blessed by this time together. I know that we are each here remembering who we are and whose we are. And in this knowing, there is a raising and a praising of ourselves, our consciousness, our energy, our connection, as we share that love, as we share that time. I know that each one leaves here with so much more than what they came with. And I'm so blessed. I'm so grateful. And I let my word go, as together we say, and so it is. Okay, now we get to say together today's affirmation. Are you ready? Yes. Here we go. I am of the divine being. My true nature is divine, and so it is. And now our global vision, a world that works for all, where all life is honored as expressions of the divine, where people live according to spiritual truth, where humanity awakens to spiritual magnificence, where humanity rediscovers personal creative power, where we live as one global family, where kinship with all life prospers, where unity and connection is emphasized, where forgiveness is the norm, where spiritual guidance is valued, where communities are meaningfully involved in service to the world, where resources are valued, cared for, and shared, where people have enough food, homes, and a sense of belonging, and where there is peace, harmony, and justice for all.
Thank you, Reverend Karen. And it's such a treat this morning to invite our guest soloist. I know you know her. She has a heart of sweetness and a voice like an angel. Please join me in welcoming Chelsea Van.
We think we own whatever land we land on. The earth is just a dead thing we can claim. But I know every rock and tree and creature has a life, has a spirit, has a name. We think the only people who are people are the people who look and think like you. But if you walk the footsteps of a stranger, you'll learn things you never knew, you never knew. Have you ever heard the wolf cry to the blue corn moon, or asked the grinning bobcat why he grinned? Can you sing with all the voices of the mountain? Can you paint with all the colors of the wind? Can you paint with all the colors of the wind? Come run the hidden pine trails of the forest. Come taste the sun-sweet berries of the earth. Come roll in all the riches all around you, and for once never wonder what they're worth. The rainstorm and the river are my brothers. The heron and the otter are my friends, and we are all connected to each other in a circle, in a hoop that never ends. How high does the sycamore grow? If you cut it down, then you'll never know. And you'll never hear the wolf cry to the blue corn moon. For whether we are white or copper-skinned, we need to sing with all the voices of the mountain. Need to paint with all the colors of the wind. You can own the earth, and still all you'll own is earth until you can paint with all the colors of the
Thank you, Chelsea. And congratulations. Chelsea just got married. Let's give her a hand. Good morning, everyone. My name is Reverend Alice Reed, and I'm so happy to be with you here today. We have been talking about nature all month and looking at the different ways that it brings us into awe, brings us back to that centered place of knowing that we're connected with everything. We've looked at the planet and Earth. We've looked at our connection to water. We looked at our connection to animals. And today we're going to be looking at our connection to our own human self, because we are indeed naturally divine. And you may not think of yourself as natural, probably because we spend a lot of our time trying to rise above nature or fight nature. But the truth is that our body temples are made of the very same components that are found readily on this planet, where we have 6 natural elements that make up the body temple. That's oxygen, carbon, hydrogen, nitrogen, calcium, and phosphorus. And yes, I had to look at a list because I don't think of myself as being made of oxygen and carbon and hydrogen. I think of those things as, in that difficult organic chemistry course I had to take years ago. But all these elements are absolutely very essential, not only to the planet, but to our own physical well-being. And it creates this intricate connection that is below our awareness. We don't even think about them. And yet, without these elements, we're nothing. We can't survive without these elements in our physical being. And then when we think about our DNA, and you look at the human makeup, like even though when I look around this room, we all look different, right? We have different hair and different body types, different sizes, but all of us have in common 99.9% DNA. Like that is also brings us together, glues us together as who we are as individuals. We all have abilities, excuse me, and characteristics that are similar. And it's like God gave us a bunch of different ingredients that we could use, and each of us begins to step into our own authentic nature, our human nature and our divine nature, and we have more in common than we have that are differences. And yet, it's easy for us to see ourselves as different, isn't it? It's easy to look at that person who lives differently than you and not recognize all the common ground that we have. And it brings, when I think about this topic, when I think about looking at being naturally divine, it brings up that old question of nature versus nurture, right? And scientists have been asking that question forever. And it reminds me of this story that I heard about a group of researchers that were asking the same question. And so they began working with 5 monkeys. And they had them in a habitat. And in the habitat was a ladder. And at the top of the ladder was a bunch of bananas. And so every time the monkeys would start to climb the ladder for the bananas, the scientists would take a hose and hose them down with icy cold water. And I know, it sounds terrible, doesn't it? The point is that the monkeys soon learned that the bananas were not worth the pain of climbing the ladder. And then they began to experiment where they would remove one of the original monkeys and bring in a monkey who had no idea about this bit that when you climb the ladder, you'd get icy cold shower. And sure enough, the new monkey would see the bananas at the top of the ladder, walk up to the ladder, start to climb it, and the other monkeys would pull him back down, like, no, you can't go up there, you don't know what's going to happen. So, sure enough, they would condition the new inhabitant in their little habitat not to climb the ladder. And the scientists continued to change out one of the original monkeys with a new monkey who had no idea about the hosing bit. And sure enough, every time, they'd have to teach the new monkey that it was too painful to climb that ladder. But of course, they didn't have the language. They had their instincts and their reactions to the ladder. They had been conditioned that climbing that ladder was a difficult thing to do. And eventually, as they would remove one of the original monkeys and they had all new monkeys, none of these monkeys had ever experienced the cold shower. And yet when they brought in the final new monkey, again, they all fought with them not to climb the ladder. And I tell you this elaborate story to really illustrate this idea that while we have instincts, while we have things that come to us naturally through our physicality, through our DNA, through the who we are as human beings, that much of what we do is conditioned. And that oftentimes, like our friends in the habitat, we accept something wholesale. We accept that this is the way things should be, and not only that, when we have to deal with change, right? We might even pull other people back. Like, no, you don't want to do that. Whatever the change might be. And all that is our human nature that works at keeping us safe, right? It's all about safety. It's all about trying to stay safe and comfortable. And there's nothing wrong with wanting to be comfortable. There's nothing wrong with wanting to be safe. But we need to be awake enough to pay attention to when our conditioning is overriding maybe some pull forward to some newness. Here we go. Yeah, I as I look at this example of the story I told you, and I look at what's going on in the world, perhaps you, like me, have been through a lot of change in the last 2.5 years. You might not, I know I don't recognize my life. My life, on January 2020, I had a whole nother plan. I had a different design for what was going to happen in my life. And I bet you did too. I bet you had different ideas about what you would be doing. I know this community has been through a lot of change, right? In 2019, and then into the pandemic, we let go of some trusted leaders. Then we had the pandemic, and many of us had to stay home, and many of us haven't come back, although I know some of you are at home watching us. Change, right, is inevitable. What is that saying? Change is the only thing. Change is constant, right? You all, I can't remember the fun way to use the words, but change is constant. It really is. And today we're here to say goodbye to an old friend, someone who's been part of this community for a long time. And so I know that's on our hearts today. I was introduced to this community by this gentleman. Of course, I'm talking about Hans. He was the fellow who called me up and tried to help me figure out where to stay when I was coming here in July of 2021 to meet you. And he was really a wonderful first impression of this loving and beautiful community. And yet that too is, yes, of course. And that too is changing. As Hans moves to Ohio to be with his family. Yeah. So one of the things that I notice when there's a lot of change going on in my life is that sometimes I'll catch myself trying to over-control things, or heavens, please no, not let it be you, some person that I might be trying to over-control. And I recognize that as a signal that I have to pay attention to something. Like there's something in me that is resisting change. There's something in me that is trying to hold on to what I know. There's something in me that doesn't want to experience the pain of change. Because sometimes it's minor, sometimes it's just a little inconvenience, like a learning curve with a new software. And sometimes it's pretty major, like leaving your chosen family to move with your biological family. But we're always having that opportunity to be more conscious, to be more aware when change is happening, and not to fall into what I like to refer to as character defaults, right? Those default behaviors that we sometimes fall into, right? And if you're like me and it happens and you're like, oh God, I did it again. So, those knee-jerk reactions that we have to life. And they're really just protective mechanisms. We're just trying to be safe again. And so the trick is to raise our awareness and to do the things that support us so that we can move through change consciously, kindly, and more lovingly. And so, as you know, as a lot of you know, this last year, this is my last Sunday to complete my full year of being with you. And next Sunday will mark a year. And I've been through a lot of change. I've been through a lot of stuff that's happened to me. And recently, as I've been trying to sort of find my footing, I've been revisited by if I had a patron saint, it would be Saint Teresa of Avila. and she's been kind of tapping me on the shoulder lately. And surely you have heard me talk about her a little bit if it's one-on-one or maybe even from the platform. But what I want you to know about St. Teresa is the reason that she really attracted me was because she was this badass businesswoman. And at the same time, she was this passionate lover of God. And if you were to ask me, I would see that business side being the human nature, and of course the lover of God being the divine nature. And here I have this beautiful example of a 16th century Christian mystic who was able to integrate all of that and have her experience as a divine being. And as some of you know, I have a business background, so I was like, I am down with this gal. And so I've spent some time studying her work, and I will be talking about her more later in the fall. But I want to share a little piece of what she's written. Much of her, she did a lot of writing because she was a 16th century Christian mystic during the Spanish Inquisition in Spain, and she had a very prolific voice that God lives within you. It was a pretty dangerous thing to say in the 16th century, and yet all the naysayers and the people who tried to prove her wrong and who tried to, shall I say, shut her up, she would just look at them as little inconveniences because she knew what she knew. And so as I was doing my spiritual practice today, one of my practices is to just pick up a book and sometimes just open it up and see what wisdom is there for me. And I have this book that it's For Lovers of God Everywhere by Roger Housden, and it's poems of Christian mystics, and there's a lot of Christian mystics in here, but of course, you know what happened, right? I opened it up, and there was Teresa right there in front of me. And so there was this beautiful poem, and I want to share it with you, because not only was it Teresa, but it fits to what we're talking about today. This poem is called, I Loved What I Could Love. I had a natural passion for fine clothes, excellent food, and lively conversation about all matters that concern the heart still alive, and even a passion about my own looks. Vanities, they do not exist. Have you ever walked across a stream, stepping on rocks so not to spoil a pair of shoes? All we can touch, swallow, or say aids in our crossing to God and helps unveil the soul. Life smooths us, rounds, perfects, as does the river the stone, as does the river the stone. And there is no place our beloved is not flowing, though the current's force you may not always like. Our passions help to lift us. I loved what I could love until I held the beloved, for then all things, every world, disappeared. The fun thing about this book is that Roger does a couple little sentences with each poem to bring it into today's reality, and so I'll read that as well. Roger writes, there is no place our beloved is not flowing. This is St. Teresa's own celebration of the place and value of passion in our lives. She was one of the most passionate individuals the church has ever known, so this should be good advice coming from her. Everything we do and everything that happens in our lives has its place in our journey and is leading us to our destination, she says. Her passions for this and that, food, clothes, and conversation, were natural, she tells us. Nothing wrong with any of them. But when you fall in love with the real thing, it's only natural that your lesser loves fall away. And that's what Teresa reminds me of. She's reminding me that there's something beyond my concerns for safety. There's something and I'm not meaning real safety, but the feeling of my insecurities, the things that make me feel too vulnerable. She's reminding me that there's this place in the arms of the beloved, in the arms of Spirit, that will open my heart and carry me through to a place that is beyond all my little vanities. And those vanities, I like nice clothes. I like great conversation. I love good food. But when I'm reminded of that place within me that has never been harmed, hurt, has never been scared, when I come back to that place within my heart, I know I'm home again. And that's why we're here in spiritual community. That's why we take classes. That's why we meditate or we read spiritual literature. Or we're in community together so that we can reflect that to one another. So we can help each other remember this beautiful truth that we are naturally divine. That we are having this human experience that's sometimes messy, and sometimes things don't work out the way we want them to, but all of it comes together to bring us back to who we are, who we came here to be, and what we've come here to do. And so this morning I thought we would do a little practice. And so I have a brief video I want to show you. And when this comes on, what I'm going to invite you to do is just be really present with the words. You may want to close your eyes, you may want to watch, but whatever it is, wherever you find yourself, keep your attention in your heart. Thank you, Mary.
Why have you come to earth? Do you remember? Why have you taken birth? Why have you come? Love, to serve and remember. Love, to serve and remember. Why have you come to earth? Do you remember? Why have you taken birth? Why have you come to love, to serve and remember? Love, to serve and remember. 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 Love, to serve and remember.
Some of you might be familiar with that song. It came out a number of years ago. but it's one of those pieces of music that reminds me, gets me beyond all the din and the dither and the busyness of life, to really remember what's important. And so today I'm going to close with this very short poem from an unknown source. And it says, "And every day the world will drag you by the hand, yelling, 'This is important, and this is important, and this is important, and you need to worry about this, and this, and this.' And each day, it's up to you to yank your hand back, put it on your heart, and say, 'No, this is what's important.'" Thank you very much. So let's go ahead and go to that place of the infinite one reality, the place of infinite love, beauty, and power that Teresa so expertly and bravely and boldly taught, that lives within us. That there is a place within each human heart, within each living thing, that knows that it is a beautiful creation, an expression of spirit. And so let us today be that beautiful expression of spirit, knowing that God cannot experience life without experiencing it through each one. And so let our heart keep our hearts open wide. Let us remember that life is a beautiful gift and that it is ours to experience and share with one another as we love, as we find ways to serve, and most importantly, as we remember. Remember that we are that beautiful expression as it authentically shows up as each one. And what I know today is that Spirit needs each one of us, not just one of us, not just some of us, but each one of us, to create this beautiful world we live in. So I claim for each one that as we walk out this week, as we walk out this wonderful celebration after service, that all of this is to remind us of our birthright, to love and to be loved. And so it is with a grateful and surrendered heart that I simply let this go, knowing it is truth. And together we say, and so it is. Thank you. And now, Chelsea Van, if you'll join us again, please, let's welcome Chelsea.
There was a boy, a very strange, enchanted boy. They say he wandered very far over land and sea. A little shy and sad of eye, but very wise was he. And then one day, one magic day, he passed my way, And while we spoke of many things, fools and kings, this he said to me: the greatest thing you'll ever learn is just to love and be loved in return. There was a boy, a very strange, enchanted boy. They say he wandered very far, very far, over land and sea, a little shy and sad of eye, but very wise was he. And then one day, one magic day, he passed my way, and while we spoke of many things, fools and kings, this he said to me: the greatest thing you'll ever learn is just to love and be loved in
Chelsea Van, let's give her another round of applause. You can still feel her words lingering in our sanctuary, can't you? It was beautiful. Thank you so much. And talking about beautiful music, each week we are gifted with such talented musicians, and let's just acknowledge them now. We have our choir director, Diane King Van. David Page, Lou Savage, and Ed Cosby. Thank you all. It's time now for our offertory. And I can't not mention our theme about nature, because it is our nature to give. It's built into us to give back. And what a beautiful practice to give back where we are nourished. It's actually a spiritual law. So there is an envelope behind your seats, and I encourage you to fill it up with your love and where you've been nourished. And if it's not yours to do today to give, or you give on a regular basis, automatically, we have a blessing cards that's also behind the seats. And just take it in your hand during this offertory and fill it up with love, this blessing card, knowing that you're blessing all the tithes in this center and what services and supports us. And if you're giving online, you can go to CSLCV and donate there. We appreciate it. And I'd like to invite our stewards to come up at this time. Thank you. Would you all join me in reading our offering affirmation? My offering is my acceptance of God as the source of my supply and symbolizes my faith in the abundant flow of this supply.
There we go. Carla, if you could pass your mic to Chelsea, that would be great. We have a little special song here that we would like to dedicate to our dear beloved Hansi. This is one that he normally sings. We're singing it to him.
May God bless and keep you always. May your wishes all come true. May you always do for others and let others do for you. And may you build a ladder to the stars and climb on every rung. May you stay forever young. Forever young. Forever young. May you stay forever young. May you grow up to be righteous. May you grow up to be true. May you always know the truth and see the light surrounding you. May you always be courageous, stand upright and be strong, and may you stay forever young. Forever young. Forever young. May you stay forever young. May your hands always be busy. May your feet always be swift. And may you have a strong foundation when the winds of changes shift. Oh, may your heart always be joyful. May your song always be sung. And may you stay forever young. Forever
love you, love you.
here. Lord, did you all get a Kleenex? I'll give you a moment to compose yourselves. It's time for our acknowledgments. And we'd like to acknowledge all of you that have been in service this week, that has made this service possible, and all the good deeds that you do behind it. Would you please stand up for us so we can give you a little bit of love? And these people help make this service possible, and we are so appreciative. And Hans has been like the backbone of volunteering through all of these many, many years. You're such a blessing to all of us. And would all of our practitioners please stand up? All of you, come on, don't be shy. We love our practitioners. These are the folks that have been trained in the art and science of prayer. And if you have something you need fixing, or something you want to see better, or something you've been working on, and you want to see it come into actual substance, you want to see one of these people. Today in service are Reverend Karen Allen, Jody Charton, and Cheryl Lineman. Let's give them a nice round of applause. This is the backbone of our community right here. And now I think it's time for our invitations.
All righty, invitations. There will be no conscious connection after the service today. Instead, we will celebrate our friend Hans Smith with cake and a light lunch.
The book study group will not meet this Wednesday because everyone will be too depressed to get out of bed because Hans is moving to be with his family. So beginning Wednesday, September 7th, the group begins a new book by Thich Nhat Hanh called Fear, Essential Wisdom for Getting Through the Storm of Hans not being here anymore.
Shifting Sands resumes meeting in person this week, September 1st. This will be a hybrid meeting since they plan to include anyone who prefers to meet on Zoom. So please attend and share your favorite story about Hans, or whatever you guys talk about. I don't know.
Game night will take place this Friday at 7 p.m. for another exciting evening of Mexican Train. Hans isn't going by train, but he'll probably be somewhere east of Tulsa by then.
September's theme is all about work. Part of our work in the world is about service, as Hans often demonstrated. Kathy Story and Tony Sparks, our champions of service, are spearheading a food drive to benefit FAM, Family Assistance Ministries in San Clemente. So we invite you to bring a donation of non-perishable food items to the center any Sunday in September.
Choir rehearsal begins again on Tuesday, September 6th. See Diane King Van if you're interested in joining the Jewel Tone Choir. We especially need more men now that our favorite bass baritone Hans is not part of the choir.
Classes resume the week of September 19th. Reverend Alice will be teaching a 5-week class called The Mental Equivalent on Mondays at 6:30 on Zoom and Tuesday mornings in person at 10 a.m. Take your pick. Registration will be on the Breeze app, and I can't guarantee he will, but even Hans could join on Zoom, so I know you could.
And as the second part of our musical tribute to our friend Hans, we're going to sing you a song that Wade and I wrote for Hans on one of his previous birthdays called The Hanyo Blues.
You say you wanna party, and you got the wine and beer. Well, the party can't get started unless, yes, Hanyo's here. He's got a kiss for every lady, but always time for you.
When you're in suit and Hanyo
yeah.
Closing
and now,
song.
time for the closing song. But I don't.
We're going to sing the closing song with you.
Okay. Wait, I gotta
But,
find it.
but,
There it is. Okay.
but mute my mic, please.
Thank you for allowing me to give you.
One life living as you and me. One life shining as you and me. One love loving as you and me. 'Cause God is all there is. One life living as you and me. One life shining as you and me. One life living as you and me. 'Cause God is all there is. I'm shining from the inside out. I'm so happy. I just wanna shout. Woo! One life living as you and me. One light shining as you and me. One love loving as you and me. 'Cause God is all there is. One life living as you and me. One light shining as you and me. One love loving as you and me. 'Cause God is all there is. I'm shining from the inside out. I'm so happy. I just wanna shout. One life living as you and me. One light shining as you and me. One love loving as you and me. 'Cause God is all there is. One life living as you and me. One light shining as you and me. One love loving as you and me. 'Cause God is all there is. 'Cause God is all there is. 'Cause God is all
Woo! So bring your hands down, and I'm going to give Hans the last word.
Thank you. We are all one, and I'm glad to be a part of you, and I'm glad that you are a part of me. And I've loved to give to all the people here. I see so many faces that I've gotten to know better through the years, and some new faces that I've just met. But each one of you are precious, and I appreciate you allowing me to give to you, because that's what really makes me happy. So live long, eat well, and prosper.